Now we mentioned about, Poison Autumn and, that crew,
Hmm.
and how like one of the challenges trying to navigate is the lack of Christian community found in the arts. But then you see, that group who seems from the outside very well connected,
Hmm.
very like, I mean, just in fellowship often, in community often, because you think about the just the work they produce. It's like, man,
Hmm.
amazing work. But it's like sometimes we see that, and if we don't have it, we get a little like discouraged. We start minimizing our value and what we do, and
Hmm.
kind of make these excuses, or even become a bit envious. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so,
Hmm.
like, how do you keep yourself from falling into the comparison trap? Or, in other words, how do you stay in your lane and run your race?
Mm. I think that takes a consistent viewing. And I
Yeah,
didn't tell you, like there's somebody that says think about what you're thinking about, and it's not
yeah,
just a one-time thing.
yeah.
When it comes to comparison, I think the enemy uses that with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be on guard to actually check that whenever it does pop up.
For
um,
sure.
but as far as combating it, there's a line in this piece where I say, what do I say? I say, normal is overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll never be the best you by trying to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you got something that God called you to, you have your own personality, your own flow. This is where you are. This is where he desires you to be. If you're constantly looking at this other person, you know, or this other group or this
Yeah,
other setup,
yeah,
I can forsake what God has right in front of me,
yeah.
and neglect it
Mm,
and fail to grow what's in front of me,
yeah.
trying to get what somebody else has. And the
That's
the the, the I say the sad thing about it is you are not like everybody else. You haven't been born or raised and grown up and developed the way everybody else has, and you do have your own race. And so, like, I can't answer like, oh God, I didn't get connected with this person, or I didn't get in this venue. I wasn't selected for that. Um, does that
yeah,
make me less than? Does that comparison is like a thief? I can't stand it at
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
It'll steal and rob you of your destiny.
It
It'll
would.
steal the joy from where you are in your own journey, because you're trying to, get to somewhere else, and that's just not where you are at the moment. If you never get there, will you be satisfied
Man,
with
that's
where
deep.
God has you?
Yeah.
So
He has
um,
you exactly where you want. He wants you.
exactly. And if you
He's
need to
giving us
grow, then grow. Be okay with that.
for sure.
But like I said, just being settled in where you are and where God has
Yeah.
you, and just know you're still growing and still progressing as well. But again, I don't think that's a one time. That's not just
It's
like, oh, I got
ongoing.
a
It's
revelation, I'm
right,
done
right,
with that. Like,
right. It's a
nah,
process, right?
absolutely.
And I think that's when we think about this whole front runner concept. Is like you think about running your race, because again, you know in track and field, I enjoyed, or I desired, or I preferred to run out in front,
Hmm.
because when I found myself running in the pack, I found myself trying to run other people's race. It's like I'm neglecting my own style and the way I want to run it,
Hmm.
and I find myself running it the way other people want to run it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so, like,
Yeah.
even as a poet, early on, I don't know if you have like favorite poets, but
Hmm.
like I have some favorite poets, and one of my favorite poets is a guy by the name of Shane Coisin,
Okay.
and he's a Canadian guy. He's not a believer or anything, but like, man, his work is just so powerful though. But like, I remember like early on, he wrote this poem. He wrote this poem. I think it was called like "To This Day," but it was a poem on bullying.
Okay.
And man, listening to that poem, I'm like, man, I need to write my own story. But I wrote it, but when I would recite it, I would try to sound like him. You know what I mean? As opposed to like trying to sound like myself. And one of my it was a cousin who kind of brought that out. I was like, man, you just don't sound like yourself though. You know what I mean? It's like I think it's a powerful form of what you're saying, but it just don't sound like you. Like it don't sound like you're and and so we get caught up in that and we neglect, as you mentioned, we neglect, you know what I mean, where we are, how God has wired us, our voice, looking at what he's doing in the lives of other people. You know what I mean? And so I think I think that's helpful. It's
That's
the
good.
comparison is a thief.
Yeah,
It is.
absolutely.
I'm out front running all day.